Hi, I'm Ashley, and today I'm going to show you how I painted this painting of the giant sequoia trees from start to finish. So this is a real-time tutorial, and you'll see by the length of it how long it took. And I really enjoyed this painting. Some parts I really love, with just the dark contrast here. And then I was able to throw in the little figures of my kids so that it's personal. So I hope you enjoy this one. Also, I totally forget once I get so engrossed in the painting to ask people to engage with the video, but it really does help the channel. So at any point throughout the video, if you find something useful or something that you enjoyed, please give the video a like and leave a comment down below what your favorite part is or something you learned, or just say hi. I would really appreciate it. So let's dive in and get started on how to paint the giant sequoias. So I'm going to use this sketchbook spread as inspiration for my painting. And I'm going to have the three trees because I like this composition. And then for the figures, I'm going to try to do kind of impressionistic versions of my kids when we went and visited the sequoias. So I'm just really, really lightly sketching in where the tree is going to go. I'm just going to go all the way up. And it's super light. You're not really going to be able to see this, but it just is giving me a guide for where I'm placing these. Okay, the next tree, I'm going to put a little bit farther back, I think. So it's going to cross behind. And then come up. And that one's not going to go quite to the edge of the page. This one's going to go all the way to the edge. It's going to be high, so wide at the bottom and get a little bit narrow at the top, like we're looking up at it. So kind of forcing that perspective, showing the height of those trees. And then the back one will be about a third up the page, right here. So we're going to come up as well, up the center. And they're kind of bumpy and gnarly at the bottom. And the figures are going to be basically right in the middle here, and they're going to come up maybe, here's the bottom of the tree, they're going to come up maybe this far. That's going to kind of be the height of my figures. So I'll kind of leave some white space there. Maybe there's going to be kind of snow drifts behind. That way I don't have to worry about painting the figures over the dark trees. And that's literally the whole sketch for right now. As I come up the trees, I'm going to fade out some of the browns so that I have the space for the foliage and I can go in nice and dark. I do like this, I kind of scribbled with pencil first. I might do some mixed media. I might do some line work with pen or pencil, but I don't know. I also could do dry brushing effects for the foliage, so I'm not sure. I don't like these branches in here, how I did it, even though the branches really are so thick and huge, but I don't like the look of that. I like the look of this better, so we'll see. These are kind of the two sketchbook spreads that I'm using as inspiration a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to start with a very large brush. And I just have, this is paper from a roll. Honestly, I don't even know what brand this paper is. I couldn't find the brand name on the roll. My mom bought this for me, so it's probably a discount brand. I don't know how it's going to work, but we'll see. And I just wet it in the shower and then taped it down to my cutting mat. And so we'll see how that works. This is the first time I'm using the roll. Okay, so I'm just gonna get my reds mixed up here. Let me loosen up what's in my palette. Should spray them down first. The first layer is just going to really be getting in some color to mark out my placement. It's going to be a light wash. I'm not going to go really dark to start with. So I'm just mixing up a reddish brown color here with olive and alizarin crimson. And then I'm just gonna lightly wash that in. Good. I'm just gonna get the shape of the trees here. And we'll see how this paper works. You know, it's pretty smooth. It's not a very rough cold press. It said it's a cold press texture, but it's very smooth. So we'll see how it works. And I'm just trying to get some bumpy edges. I don't want it to be nice and smooth or anything. Along the edges of the tree, the borders of the tree. Yeah, this water is really sitting on top of the paper. It's not soaking in, so I don't know if I'm gonna like it, but we'll see. It's gonna be an interesting little test here, and I might not finish it. We'll see how it goes. See if I like the paper enough to finish it. And this tree I want to come all the way off the edge, but I also kind of want to leave some white space, like as a tapering off. And I'm using a Degado squirrel hair brush. It's a size 4. It's kind of, it holds a ton of water. So it's nice for, the sun just came out. Let me close this blind real quick. There we go. This is nice for holding a ton of water and paint and getting in these first washes.
So we just
Okay, I'm gonna mix up more of that color. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of ultramarine to it to bring it a little bit darker and more brown. And I'm just gonna start tapping in a little bit of that color. So this one's gonna have a big burn mark. So that's one of the things with sequoia trees is that they actually do well with forest fires. They are needed. That's what releases the seeds from the pine cones, but also it burns out any of the small undergrowth that isn't going to be healthy anyway because it doesn't get enough light. And those little things take the nutrients from these big trees. So having forest fires usually, naturally, it would be caused by lightning. So having those every couple seasons really actually helps the trees out. And the giant trees end up with these burn scars, and they just thrive through it anyway, which is kind of cool. So that'll be a burn scar right there. Okay, and then we're just gonna add a little bit of darkness on these trunks, kind of striping it in, getting the start of some bark texture. So I'm just using the tip of the brush, vertical hold, and kind of flicking my wrist up. And it's wet, so it's gonna diffuse and lead out. And then some areas that have dried a little bit faster, it's gonna leave more defined marks, which is fine. And this one's gonna be a lot more dry up at the top because I added water down here. I'm going to take some kind of purple color here, but I want to make it a little bit more neutralized with some yellow, so it's grayed out a little bit more. And that's going to kind of be my snow shadow color. So I'm just going to start adding some dry brushing textures for some snow.
Good.
And so I'm just holding the brush very flat to the page and just letting it barely touch. And that's going to give a very loose impression of solid snow. Okay. And then we'll add kind of shadows around the base of the trees as we build them up. Yeah. But that gives me an idea of where the land is going to end and the horizon is going to start. And make it hilly at the back, so not straight. All right. And then I think I'm going to add just a little bit of loose sky color. So I want it to be kind of an overcast sky. So we're going to add some cerulean, but mix it into this purple to warm it up a little bit, make it a little bit more of an overcast color. And then I'm just going to kind of loosely put that in between the trees. Okay, they're still wet, so they're going to bleed a little bit. And then there's going to be foliage on top too, so I'm not that worried about it. And obviously I'm not going for a flat wash here. This paper is not going to allow as flat washes, it doesn't seem like, so I'm just not even going to try. I'm going for that stylistic blotchy approach. Okay, so this is the first layer. I am going to go ahead and let this layer dry and then come back and start just building up the layers to get the depth in the trees. So I did let this dry completely. Now I'm going to go in with a size 22 Dugato brush. This is synthetic, not the squirrel hair. It's actually bigger, but it doesn't hold as much water, so it's going to be a little bit easier to control. Then I'm just going to reactivate my mixture here. Let's add a little bit more and get a nice little puddle here. So remixing. Just getting a nice rich brown color. Okay, I'm gonna start defining some of my darkest areas now. So I am going to get pretty dark here, but this is going to be the scar mark. So again, it's going to be like black at the end. So this really is just another layer. And I'm just going over that whole area. Okay, now I'm going to get some darks in to the trees here. The other trees, I mean. I just got to figure out kind of what I want to do. I think I'm going to start just with some almost dry brushing just vertically. So I'm leaving some lighter areas, but really just kind of covering the whole thing. With those strokes. Okay, and define the edge a little bit more here. Make the left side just a bit darker. And then pull some of that darker color into the right as well, but not as dense. So more of the white space or the lighter blue underneath. I'm going to get some really dark marks for some of the space in between the bark. So this is going to be the shadows, the deepest parts. And the sequoia trees have really kind of deep areas between the bark. I don't know what it's called, but it's like really deep and dark in between. So I'm just adding some thicker, dark color. Thicker as in wider strokes, but also thicker as in thicker paint. So both. And I'm just mixing a little bit at a time because it's not time sensitive. It's damp, but it's not really wet on wet or anything. So I can afford to remix my paint as I go and have a little bit more variety that way. And I'm doing broken strokes, keeping them mostly vertical, but adding a little bit of wobbliness to them, and they're not just one stroke straight up the tree. Age. I'm just gonna add some water up at the top to wash that out. But you can't really see up at the top, but there it is. So I'm just kind of letting it wash out at the top, because again, that's gonna be mostly foliage. Okay, now at the bottom, I gotta figure out how I want to make this look like some snow working its way up. So we're gonna add some dark shadows. Around the base here. And I just wet it so that it'll bleed a little bit. Okay, and then some curved strokes coming up into the tree. It's going to blend out a little bit of the strokes that I made before, but not blend it out completely. And thicker paint and adding some more of those curved brush strokes. I just introduced a little bit of water on this side. That's gonna make it have some cauliflowers and some texture there. So we'll see how that comes out as it dries. And then just add some clean water here along the edge. And that'll force a little bit of cauliflowering as well, a little bit of bleeding, and we'll see how that does to kind of give the idea of snow being there. If not, I can always cover it up later. Okay, I want to add a little bit more like oranginess into it. When I was doing this, I think I used burnt sienna for some of this orange. So that's what I'm gonna add. and just add a little bit more warmth into the browns, especially the front ones, because I want them to be a little bit warmer. So I'm going to do some burnt sienna over this. And that's going to knock back some of the like pinkish color and make it more orange for this front one. And this one I want the roots to come across and out toward this other tree in the front. Kind of add the root going down kind of in front as well. Okay, so now to start building up some of the darks. So this is now more wet on wet because I just did that layer, that first layer again. And then just some linear marks of the tree trunk. And I'm just mixing my alizarin crimson and my olive green to make a nice warm brown. I'm not adding the ultramarine to this one right now, so I want to keep it nice and warm. Here for the root, I'm doing space here for a highlight to separate where this root's coming out and coming up the tree and where this one is coming out. So leaving those highlights gets that three-dimensional effect. And my brush is pretty dry, so the bristles are kind of separating, which is fine because it's adding even more striation, more striping. Okay, now I'm adding some ultramarine to it to get some more darkness and going in over more the left side of the tree, which is where I decided kind of my shadow side would be. Okay. I kind of like it. It's really stylized, and I like that this one is warmer and this one is cooler. So I'm going to kind of leave it at that, and then let me kind of add in some clean water to get a little bit of bleed. And I'll add in a little bit of my purple here. For the snow shadowy color under the tree. That'll kind of bleed out here. So I'm doing this one a little bit different. I'm adding it while it's wet to bleed it in, and we'll see how that goes. So it's kind of just experimentation, and I'm going for a really stylized, like illustrative look, not realistic, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Might lift up a little bit along the edges. Just to get some more of that white space back. Does lift pretty easy off this paper. So if you're looking for a paper that lifts easy, I guess this is it. But I can't help you because I don't know the name of it. That looks like kind of a snowdrift there. I kind of like that. I want this snow coming up into between the roots here. Oh, that's kind of fun. I like the texture that's giving. Again, this just lifts so easy. Okay. And I'm using a textured towel too. This is just a kitchen towel. So it's creating like an extra texture that's nice and soft. Okay. That's kind of fun. I do like that. I think that looks like snow. So we'll go with that. Okay, so now this tree, I'm going to do that same Nelmer color, so burnt sienna. Mostly mixed with, the alizarin crimson, olive green, and olive, and ultramarine that were already in as well, but mostly burnt sienna. And I can go over the scar mark too, because that's going to be really dark, so it doesn't matter. So I'll do that same kind of texture along the bottom of this so that it looks like it's got snow coming up over the top of it. But I wanted that to come across the page a little bit more, just to add more of this zigzag for the composition. Just added a little bit of alizarin crimson into it to make it a little bit more red. Knock back that orange a tiny bit. Okay. Now to mix up my brown again. Thicker paint here. Need to refill my olive. I use that color a lot. And just a touch of the ultramarine. Let's streak that in. Okay. Now I'm going to get in this darkest part here. So let me actually go ahead and add in a little bit of water and do my lifting. So I'm just adding in the water and I'm tapping along with the big towel. Just to create that texture. My towel's getting a little bit dirty, so it's leaving some paint residue. So I'm just going to move to a different spot so that it's a little bit cleaner.
Good. So
yeah.
that's
Add some spots of snow onto kind of the tops of the roots as well, maybe. So just kind of scrubbing. Get the lifting. Add a little bit of a shadow here. Really darker color. Lift out the side.
then you're good. I mean,
Pink. Now, I'm going to pick colors for my dark area here. So I think I'm going to use my ultramarine and burnt sienna so that I'm staying with my same color, like minimalistic colors. So far I've only used 4 colors. We'll see what we end up with later. But I want it to be super, super dark. So lots of ultramarine, like burnt sienna, and then just a little bit of red and alizarin crimson and olive, just to warm it up even more. Okay, let's try that. And I'll probably have to do a couple layers because I want this to be almost black in here. Nice. I'm going to need to let that dry before I go in and add another layer to it. So I think I'm happy with the tree trunks though. I do need to kind of step back for a minute and make sure before I start adding the foliage, because I don't want to add the foliage necessarily until I'm pretty well done with the tree trunks. So I'm gonna let my eyes rest for a few minutes and then let it dry, come back later and see how I feel about it. Before I do that, actually, I am gonna lift up some of this paint along the edge, or the bottom edge here, of my scar. Just because the snow would kind of blow into there as well. But that snow will be more shadowed, so I will actually probably add quite a bit more purple in there later, which will be good because it's this darker color, you know, is kind of bleeding down a little bit, but I'll make that more shadowed. All right, so this is completely dry. I have not had a chance to work on it, so this is like a week later, but it's, you know, as long as you let it dry completely, you can go on to the next step. And so I think I'm fairly happy with the trunks. I might add a little bit more texture after I do foliage, but I haven't decided yet. So I'm gonna start mixing up my greens to work on foliage here. So I'm just getting a huge brush to do the mixing and get all my paints ready here.
This is
So I'm starting with olive green. Pink. And then I'm gonna grab some yellow ochre, which will warm it up a little bit. It's gonna be fairly muted, you know, olive and yellow ochre, they're both already muted, so mixing them still very muted. And then for some dark greens, I'm gonna add ultramarine, and that's also granulating, so that should get some interesting texture there. And so I want some much more blues, and then we'll add some burnt sienna in as well to get even more darkness. Okay, grab a little bit more yellow ochre here. I don't know what's in this well, but I'm going to mix it all together because it's green anyway, and that's supposed to be my yellow well, so we're going to try to clean that out while we're painting here. Okay. So that's going to be my first like golden color for my foliage, and so I'm just going to get some of that in. So I just picked up a bunch of that and then kind of drag it along the side to get off any excess liquid that was dripping off, and then I'm just going to start by brushing that in along the top. And it's very watery, so you can see it's really transparent. It's not going to get good coverage at this point. That's not really difficult. It's just to start getting some color in. Okay, and then I do want to grab some and put some kind of coming off the trunk. And again, this has been dried for a couple weeks, but you can see how easily that's reactivating with just even a very, very light touch. So again, I don't even know what brand this paper is. It's definitely not a cotton paper. It's got to be cellulose because it just lifts so easily. But I can use that to my advantage since I know it. And so I can actually lift and add some lighter colors over without having issues with the transparency. So it'll work. I wouldn't want to use this paper for something where I was doing like big washes of color though. Okay, so now I'm going to start getting in some greens. and just getting more opaque, but keeping very loose on the brush. So I'm holding the brush way up here, and I can get really, it's very far away from me too. And then just kind of loosely dabbing in the colors. And then thinking about like this tree's in front of that one, so some of the foliage can be going in front. And I'm just kind of swirling, dabbing and swirling my brush around. More water. Okay, just adding some more darkness in here with some more of the ultramarine and just kind of dabbing that under some of these little clumps. To get some shadowy colors in already. And you can see how adding that whole line of ultramarine on the bottom here separates it from this clump that's on the back tree. Okay, so that's a good way. Shadows are a good way to separate, to show distance and what's in front of other stuff. If that makes sense. And then I'm adding more water here because I'm okay with it cauliflowering some up here. So I'm going to add in some drops of darker paint with more water, and it should cause some backgrounds.
He says,
and then take in and splatter some paint as well. The buckets. A dry towel to lift up those errant splatters. These brushes, I like them. They're Ducato artist brushes. I like them, but they don't splatter very well. I don't have a lot of control. So if I want to change to something where I have more control, I can use this like squirrel hair brush, which it holds a lot of water. You can see that kind of stays where I put it better, where I'm over. Okay.
hear me, good. Take this. Bit up. Oh, you agree? Good.
So I'm going to pause here and let that dry because it's super wet, super puddly. Just going to let it dry and do its thing. While it dries, it's going to create a lot of interesting textures and then I'll see kind of what it looks like when I come back and what I need to do.
Now,
Okay, it's mostly dry now, so I'm going to take that squirrel hair brush again. So this is size 4. I think this is like a quill brush. So the sizing is quite a bit different. So that's a nice big brush. And I'm just going to go in again and add in silver color. I'm going to get some brighter yellow. So this is lemon yellow deep. And add that into some areas. And it's going to blend. It's not going to like show up super bright, but it'll blend in a little bit. And it is opaque, so it does layer over a little bit, but not that much. And this isn't super dry. It's just barely drying. It's not shiny anymore, but it's still, especially on this paper, very easy to lift and blend silver. Okay. And some darker green and blues again.
wait a second.
There. And then I think I'm going to add in some sap green as well, just to get that like bright kind of springy green color, kind of along the transition between the warmer and the cooler. And just kind of dabbing that in some areas. And it's a thicker version, so getting a little bit of texture as well in there. Okay, now I'm gonna dab off some of the water and try to do some dry brushing. So thicker paint and dab off the water. Okay, and switch brushes. And use a stiffer, smaller brush. These came from Temu. I don't know the brand of these either. They're okay. They're pretty decent. The ferrules are a little bit loose, but it's a little bit of a stiffer brush. And then it's dry, so I can get more of the dry brushing texture. Kind of along the edges, so I'm taking some of the paint that I am pulling from the palette, but also some of the paint that's wet on the page, and just dragging some out to get a little bit of texture along the edges.
basically use.
Okay, let me add some browns in too. So get some burnt sienna and ultramarine. And then just a little bit of olive to make it a little more green.
What?
Okay, just doing some vertical strokes to show that the trunk is still in there. Okay, and then some more of the dark. Okay, I'm going to switch to a flat brush now to get a little bit more geometric marks. And just kind of dabbing that in. Okay, and then come back to my reds. And add in some hints of the branches in there. So I'm just doing like broken horizontal lines to demonstrate that. And I can go over it with more green after too if I need to or want to. Okay, back to just a little bit more greens. And just kind of scrubbing in a little bit more at the top there.
Easier.
Okay. A few splatters. And we'll let that dry again. But kind of gotta take a step back and make sure that I'm happy with it as well. You see down here some greens that I'm just gonna scrub out. From here, splatters. Okay. All right, now I have to decide. I was going to put figures here in front, and I have to decide if I want to do that for sure. So I'm gonna kind of think about it for a minute, let it dry, and then be back. Okay, so I have this picture here on my phone of my daughter hugging a sequoia tree. I mean, you can just see she's like this little tiny blob here. And that's the tree. So I'm gonna try to like capture that size, and maybe I'll have her kind of where are we? Maybe she's kind of standing up in the on here. I don't know how it's gonna work though with already having painted, since I didn't like mask it out to paint something lighter, but we'll see. Okay, so she's kind of leaning against the tree like that, and then her arms come out. Okay. And she's at. Sorry if you can hear yard work. The neighbors are doing yard work, and then my dog's growling at them. So if you hear any noises, that's why. Try. There she is. Okay, so that is the size that I'm gonna do.
Let's try.
Maybe I'll make it look like my other daughter's here, kind of holding hands with her, or reaching to hold hands with her. Maybe. And so she's hugging the tree also. And she's kind of standing in the snow a little bit. Now, since they're in, like, it's a snowy scene, so I'm gonna assume they're in snow clothes, like my daughter was here. So they can be, like, bulky and messy. It doesn't have to be, like, super precise figures, which is nice. Okay, so I'm gonna try to lift up some paint here to lighten up the areas. And man, that is crazy how easily this lifts. I mean, it's terrible if you're not going for it, but it will make this part a lot easier. Because I can just lift it up. I don't have to go in with an opaque medium or anything. So if you want to do this painting and you have, let's face it, better paper, right? Because this paper is not the best. But if you have better paper, you can definitely plan for these figures in advance and use some masking fluid to mask out the area instead of relying on lifting later. But this is working out fairly well for me, so that's great. Okay. Now it might damage the paper a little bit, so that's something that I am kind of being gentle. I'm having a light touch here, but it still seems like it's pilling a tad.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Now I'm gonna paint in, and my older daughter had taken off her jacket when we went to the sequoias, but she had a poofy jacket like this as well. So I'm gonna kind of use these bright colors as my inspiration for this. So I'm gonna get some bright pink, some of these permanent rose, and then some bright purple. So this one is Windsor Violet. Okay. And I'm just gonna kind of paint in those two colors and get a transition there. And I want it to be nice and opaque, so I'm not using very much water at all. And again, since it's poofy, like, it doesn't have to be precise or anything. There we go. And a little bit lighter pink where the hood is. So I'm just kind of actually lifting that pink, and that's going to make it lighter there. Yeah. And then I'm just going to use some yellow ochre for hair color. And for pants, maybe I'll do some like teal. So I'll use, I like this aqua green deep. Maybe I'll use that. Mixed with a little cerulean to lighten it up some. Kidding. And we'll just kind of put in the pants here. Okay. And then for my other daughter, we'll start with the pants. We're going to do the same color pants. it kind of looks like one line because her legs are together. See if I can get just a little bit of a line down the center to get some separation. There we go. And then her jacket is going to be, I think, just the pink. She's kind of puffy arm here, puffy arm here.
Well, yes.
And there's where the hood will come down. Lighten up the pink, and then just add a little bit of light pink for the hood. Maybe add just a touch of purple around the hood to give it a little bit of a shadow. Not really to add purple, but just for a shadow. There we go. Okay, and then same, just some yellow ochre for the hair. And obviously that's not like a realistic hair color, it's just makes it pop a little bit. And then they both had pink boots on, so I'm gonna get the pink sugar boots and kind of tap it in. Just a little rectangle. And maybe a little blob out to the side. Same on the other side. Little rectangle. A little blob out. Okay. And then her boots are going to be the rectangle as well. And I'm going to widen it because it's got both feet there. And then you're just going to see the one toe coming out this way, so lengthen that out. There we go. Okay, I think that's kind of fun. It's kind of a silly little addition. Now I'm going to add some of my shadow color underneath and in front, because she would be casting a shadow here on the ground.
Eastern.
And just get it a little bit deeper later on her feet where she's standing. Okay, I'm going to add some more shadow in here, so just taking my purple mix. It's kind of like purple and green. It's muted, and dry brushing the chin to get some texture and a little bit more than a shadow there.
That was me.
And a little bit more up here too, in between these roots. Okay, because of how the paper's warping, because my tape did not work that well, I need better tape. I'm getting a puddle right here in the middle, so I'm actually going to lift some of that up and then spread it around a little bit. There we go, and then tap it in a little bit more. Okay, that should take care of that. And then I need to add in hands here. So I'm gonna lift out in between their jackets a little bit. And honestly, that might be enough, just lifting it, because then it's just that light, like pinkish red color from the trees, which kind of looks like skin color. So I'm gonna call that good and just lift out a little oval shape for the hands. Okay. And just a little bit more purple here. So dark. Maybe I'll do my other purple that's like a little bit more vibrant in mass tone. Still pretty dark. That's okay. It works. Okay, so now I have to decide if I want to add a little bit more texture, like darkness, to some of these trunks. So like this one, I kind of like how it's light contrasting with this one's darkness. I might want to add just a little bit more of the actual dark lines to this one. So I'm getting my alizarin crimson and ultramarine mix. A little bit of burnt sienna, a little bit of yellow ochre. And then I want it to be a little bit more on the blue purple side. Not too brown. So adding the yellow changes it from purple to brown because they're opposites. So just having a little bit more of the blue to darken it, and then a little bit less of the yellow ochre. And then I'm just going to add in some dark lines here.
See.
And kind of break in some spots thicker, some thinner. So just barely touching in some spots and then pressing down to get a thicker line in others. Okay. And kind of thinking about some shadows also. So use this as a shadow color. So it's not that much darker than the trunk, right? I don't want it to be crazy contrast, but I just want to bump up the contrast of this one. And compositionally, like, I did make my focal point right in the center. Lower third, but still right in the center. And that's okay. Typically, you want to kind of do it off center if you're following quote-unquote rules of composition, but I'm not that worried about it. But because this is my focal point right in the center, I want to have most of my detail right there along that focal point. Okay, so under the figure here, I'm adding a little bit of a shadow to show that she's, casting that shadow on the tree. Same on my second figure here. Just a little bit of a shadow around them. It'll make them pop a little bit too. So it doesn't look like they're just part of the tree. And I'm using a pretty vertical hold here. And then just the tip of my brush and then bouncing it around. I'm wiggling up. I'm not I'm not trying to go for a straight line, right? Trees are organic. They're not architecture, so they're going to be bouncy and bumpy, and they don't have straight lines. So it's okay to paint them imperfectly. It makes them look more natural. And as I come up, I'm doing less texture. So I'm putting a little bit in here, but not as much. Because again, my focal point's down here. Okay, I am pretty happy with that. I think I'm gonna add just a tiny bit more darkness into this tree. I don't know why I just put olive in it, but that's okay. Okay, so I'm gonna add just another layer here. Maybe not over the whole thing, but along the edge at least, and then kind of blend it out and then decide. If I want more or not. Too. I should be using a bigger brush for this. I'm gonna switch to my 22 round because it holds more water and it's a softer brush, so it's not gonna get as streaky. Okay, let's do that. A little bit streaky is fine because, again, it's that bark, so it's going to have some texture, but I don't want it to be super streaky in there. You're gonna leave that and see how that feels once it's dry. And my greens are still drying up here. There's some of this texture because of that puddle and where I lifted that I don't love, so I'll probably go over that a little bit more, but we'll see. And as I step back and kind of up so that I can see it well, I do like the figures. I think they're cute, and I like the shadow against the tree. I think that works. So yeah, overall I think I'm pretty happy with how it's going. I'll probably work on that foliage a little bit more, like I said, when it's dry, but I kind of like it. I like this foliage better, I think, but you know, we do what we can. I did have pencil mark in here too, with literally just like scribbles for the foliage, which I don't think I want to add pencil to this, but I might use a liner brush and do some scribbles of darker paint. I don't know, we'll see, but we'll let it dry for now. Okay, so I have a size 1 fine liner here, or liner brush, I mean. And this is synthetic, so it doesn't hold a ton of water, but it'll get the job done. And I'm just gonna take some of my greens going for a dark mix here. Because I want it to have some contrast. Okay, and just loading up that liner brush here. So I'm just kind of rolling it all the way. And then I'm just gonna start kind of maybe on the edge and literally just kind of scribble in some lines. And I'm gonna have to reload a lot because it's, again, doesn't hold a ton of water. Okay. I'm just kind of bouncing it around, adding some texture. Okay, pick some very blue dark marks to the bottom of, again, this front one to separate it and pull it forward from the others. Okay, and then get a little bit more green and blend that out. Okay. Okay, so now here I'm thinking about kind of like separating out some sections a little bit. So like here is one like bough of the tree, one branch coming off. And so I'm separating that out, pulling that forward with this line work. And it might not work, and we'll see, but that's what I'm trying here. Okay, then I'm gonna get another little bit here. So maybe I'm gonna get like this branch here, okay, and get some line work in there. And right now, because it's shiny a little bit, it's very obvious, but it's going to get more subtle as it dries. Yes. And then maybe do one kind of in the middle here. Some kind of in the back, so I'm doing a little bit fainter. And then I'm gonna pull one out this way that's in front. Okay. And I don't generally make a darker blue on the bottom of each section and brighter green on the top. So we need see if I can. Okay. I mean, that's very stylized. There's nothing that is realistic about this. But that's, really the point. So those loopy lines were to make it stylized and kind of pop a little bit more. So I'm actually adding more of that blue in just because I really like the depth that it brings, especially here, because this branch is kind of my front branch that's kind of pointing down more toward my focal point. It's not pointing completely down, but it's my most prominent branch here. So just adding a little bit more to that one. Okay, and then just gonna add in a little bit of splotchy darks. Using an impressionistic style to just get some texture on top of those linear marks. So just down here, I'm going to dab my brush to get some lines. And then more pressure dabs to get some blotches. Okay. I think that'll work. Okay. I might just blend out a little bit here. And lift some just to get that transition from tree to branch a little bit. I don't know, softer. We'll see how it works. And I might regret it. We'll see. So just adding in some of my burnt sienna here into that area. Okay, moving to a softer brush that's not gonna lift as much and getting a little bit more water and a little bit more paint. And dropping that in. Little bit of a shadow along the bottom. Okay. And then just a little bit of linear strokes. To get the direction that that limb's coming out. I don't know. I think it works. I'll leave it and then decide after it dries if I like that or not. I can cover it up again with green if I want, but I think I'm going to leave it so that I just don't end up damaging the paper completely. But that is my giant sequoia trees. Thank you so much for watching today. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, give it a thumbs up. Also, drop a comment down below the video. I really appreciate it, and it helped my channel out. If you made it this far in the video, you definitely deserve to be commended, and I really hope that you give this painting a shot. If you do try it out, I would love to see your version. You can find me on Instagram and tag me at paintingwithashy. So again, thank you so much for watching, and I just really hope you have an awesome day.